You guys ready to get started? Now you are. Awesome. Welcome to, what class are we teaching? Everybody know where they are?
Come on. Yeah, there you go. Time management.
We should let Susan teach this class because she is the queen. No, this is time management. I am Brent Blaustein. This is Casey Sullivan.
So I am a, is this too loud? Okay. I'm from Walnut Creek, which is about an hour and 15 minutes away. I've been at Summit Funding for 5 years. I've been a level 3 student in the Corps for 6 years. And I've been doing our lovely business for somewhere around 15 or 16 years. We're teaching time management, and I will admit I am horrible at time management. So why am I teaching it? Because I've been working on it for 16 years, so we have some great tactics to share with you. But my family is, if you met my family, we're always late. You know, it's just, like, I've changed.
How did I get stuck with you on this?
I don't know. My wife has changed me. She's very prompt. You know, on time is 5 minutes early. And so I've definitely shifted, but yeah, my family shows up. You set the dinner at 4, they get there at 5. So I've got some good teaching for you. And
cool. So I'm Brent Blaustein. I'm in Petaluma, about, we don't want that, about an hour and a half west of here. I've been with Summit 5 years, been in the business 18, and I got my start as an LP2 before kind of we called them LP2s. I was an assistant to a top producer, and I was really good at time management, but I didn't know why or how. I just got a lot done. And so over the years, the course taught me kind of how to schedule and be better at time management and understanding how to use my time better. So we should start out by seeing why you guys are here. You guys all picked to come to this class. It is not a sexy topic. It's not landing realtors. It's not closing skills. But I think a majority of the people in Todd's talk yesterday raised their hand that time management was a struggle. So let's take a few things you want to get out of this class.
yes.
Don't be shy.
How to really create an effective habit.
Oh. Create an effective habit. That's good. Who else? Mary.
I'm working on turning out the light at 5:30 and really getting the work done. So,
Like an end time or okay. How to end your day.
How about getting it all done?
Yeah.
The panic.
So the urgency of a realtor's request. Okay, that's a good one.
Prioritization.
Aligning a team with time management so where everybody's on the same page. They're aware of, daily meetings need to end by this time, that we're all operating that versus they're taking their time.
And you're trying to drive it.
They're not tracking
Okay.
with the same.
So team and time management.
maybe the language that you use when you set your appointment, like when you set your appointment, hey, we have 15 minutes today, I can't wait, blah, 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 and just figure a wrap up spiel once you know that you're going to close. Or if there's things you
Like with the client?
With your client or with your realtor partner, having coffee, you don't want coffee to be an hour.
Staying on
coffee, so
track.
Staying
Yeah.
on track. So how you
Yeah.
set the preference for the appointment and then how you wrap up when you have 2 minutes left.
To show them that it's over.
The language that you use.
Like a phone app too.
Not the Rick Ruby way where you just hang up on you.
See you later.
That's a good way. Yes.
That works.
Away in the back. Oh, yeah. Life balance.
I guess how to do it when you're a one-man team, because there's all the core models for your ideal day, but that's not going to work if I don't have a team to do what we're going to do.
The time management without a team. Yeah. Come on, one more.
How do you guys deal with family things that come up that kind of derail what you're supposed to be doing? Like urgent.
So how to fit in urgent personal things into your schedule?
And still get out by 5 o'clock, 5:30.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Hey, I have a question. So yesterday, Todd and Rick and a bunch of other people on the stage talked about some different things that derail us. And I got one big thing that derails me and I think derails a lot of other people. Does everybody remember what that might be? Oh, that's one too. For me, it was emotion. They talked about tactics, right? This stuff is simple. We screwed it all up. We think too much. We don't stay on track. Our emotions get involved and derail us. So I think these are all great things. I think there are really simple answers to all these things. It's how do we stay on track and not let our emotions derail us? So, Casey, you're going to start, right?
Yeah, so
take us away.
I assume most of you are here because you want more time in your day to prospect. I just came from a prospecting class with Aaron about theme days, and I wrote 2 pages of notes about all this additional prospecting and new ideas. But how am I going to get it done? So I need more time. So I have a project to work on here. Sometimes we'll go through how much you make an hour, how much you're worth an hour. But what I want to do is what is your prospecting value? So grab a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to do a little calculating for us. And we're going to start off, you're going to write down how many hours a week do you prospect. Please don't lie, be truthful. You know the greatness tracker says 21 hours, so maybe you don't do that. Real prospecting. Not just, you're at Starbucks and you think you're smiling at people and that's prospecting because you have your name tag on. Yeah, change your number. And then I want you to multiply that by 50. And this is the one time you can take out your phone. And that number you're going to come up with is how many hours you prospect a year. The number of weeks times 50, we assume you take off 2 weeks for vacation, and that's how we're coming up with that. And now I want you to think about how much you made last year. How much does your you just got your W-2 if you're like me. So divide that in there and come up with how much you are worth. Brent, are you doing? Do you know your number?
No.
Okay. I did my number. It was $648 an hour when I'm prospecting. Who else has got one? I see calculators out. Taking your annual income, dividing by your prospecting hours.
If you have a really high hourly dollar, it probably means you're not prospecting enough because you're working less hours.
$670, okay. $610. Oh, you're worth a lot when you're prospecting. Yeah. Who else? 200. Okay. Good. I thought that was insightful because a lot of times I might have a little extra time in my day and I don't always fill it with prospecting. And I could say if I make, what was my number, we'll call it 600, I can make $300 if I just make 30 minutes of calls. Wow. That's all I have to do? Right? And so at the table, I want you guys to go around, share your number, and share some insight you would have with understanding what your number is and how it might make you do something a little different. Maybe 2-3 minutes. Let's have the shortest hair go first.
I just cut it.
What's your number? What do you think it is? I don't know. I mean, I said I did 15 hours a week of prospecting, a real prospecting. Like if I'm
Last
shooting
year,
myself.
all the top producers just counted on our hour. All of them consistently just said, prospecting the year. So I know I got to do it.
How many hours you were at prospecting? Were they added?
Okay, let's come on back, guys. Knock, knock, we're coming back. So over here, what was the takeaway you guys had? You don't make enough. You need to prospect more. Okay. How about over here?
How valuable we are that, like, you shouldn't be photocopying and doing other things. You have systems set in place that.
You don't pay your assistant $600 an hour? How about, go ahead.
And I think also is that the reason why I'm getting home late is because of these series of little things that I shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I assign a dollar value to them, it makes it more impactful. Like, oh my, I really should not be spending my time doing this. And if I cut those things out, I'd probably be showing up at home right on time.
Mm-hmm.
So it just helps clarify the impact of that.
Yeah. How about at your table, Susan?
I think that we came up with that everybody needs to do more prospecting. And then I was just sharing with them that Todd always says, and ask me, like, somebody will suck me into something. Susan, is that the highest and best use of your time?
The answer is always no.
So he's giving me permission to
Push away, yeah. How about in the back? Anything back there come up?
Well, I just know I need to be more structured and less reactionary, things like that. Always putting out fires and jumping to this and jumping to that, as opposed to, staying with the plan.
Right. So as
How much we're spending being in the class right now?
there you go, huh? Start calling. I give you permission to make realtor calls right now.
Your prospecting is directly reflected in your hourly rate and your total income.
Yeah.
None of that should not be recommended.
Yeah. So as Brent's going to lead us through time blocking, so just think as you're going through time blocking, like what are you really spending your time on and what's most important for your hourly rate. So, and maybe I'm going to put this number, my 648, on my computer. I have little yellow Post-its and nobody will know what 648 means, but I'll know exactly what it is as I'm thinking about walking to the copier. Take it away, Brent.
So my number was $800 an hour, which tells me that I don't prospect enough hours a week because it shouldn't be that high. But it also tells me that I'm spending a lot of my day doing things that I shouldn't be doing. Who loves Power Hour? Who loves doing their Monday calls? Is anybody in Alicia and Otto's class this morning? Right? Yeah, she loves cold calling, right? Most of us don't. I hate it. So we find other things to do, right? Walk around the office, jump into a file. I think I mentioned I started as an LP2. I love putting things together, puzzles together, making everything nice. I would much prefer to sit and work on files than get rejected all day, right? Who wants to get rejected? Isn't it kind of weird that we all picked a career where it's guaranteed we are going to get rejected all the time, every day? Yeah, right? You gotta have a pretty thick skin. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So, before we jump into time blocking, let's talk about the team meeting. How many people get derailed because their team knocks on the door to ask a question or to solve a problem? How often does that happen? Just one hand? Got it. Oh, I see. Okay, cool. Well, everybody else has perfect teams. But what I do to alleviate that is a team meeting every day, every morning at 8:45. You should all be having team meetings every morning at 8:45. If you go to page, that's backwards. 206. Everybody seen this form before? The big rocks? This is where you go over things that have to get done and you prioritize what has to get done and when, so that your team isn't knocking on your door all day. You can put in your time block times for them to come and ask you questions. But if they're emailing you, if they're calling you, if they're knocking on your door all day, you're going to get derailed. So, Any questions about the big rocks? Yeah.
So when you're in your meetings, do you, is it kind of organic where you come up with those and they come into the meeting with
All of it, right? So it could be something about a file. It could be about calling leads back. What do you think your number one priority is? What's that? Yeah, but more in a tactical, operational. Beyond that, that's more of a big scope. Well, again, that's big scope. What I'm looking for is calling leads back, right? A lead comes in, your number one priority, or your LP1, if your LP1 does it. I actually have taken that back. I've taken lead tracker back because I found that a lot of people want to hear from me. So it doesn't take me that long to call leads back. Now, if I'm in meetings or I can't do it, my LP1 knows how to do it and she does it, but I actually enjoy it. And I don't get so many leads that I can't do it. So someone mentioned this yesterday. Does everybody in here make their own Tuesday update calls? Does anybody in here have their LPs make their Tuesday update calls? There's maybe 10 people or less in this company that have an excuse not to make their Tuesday update calls. Most of us are not big enough, right? Like we don't have that many deals that we can't make our own Tuesday update calls. And the Tuesday update calls are like a gateway into new realtors. Either realtors that came with the buyer or listing agents that you don't know. Like I just started off by saying I hate doing my Monday calls. And why do I hate doing my Monday calls? Because I don't know what to say. So I have to have a reason to call. Well, Tuesday update calls are like the best reason to call. There's nothing better. Hey, everything's going great. We're closing on time. Anyway, okay. So go to page. Oh, there's no page number. Oh, 204. How many people have a time block? Cool. Does everybody know what a time block is? A time block is basically your calendar, except for they are themes for each time slot. So I have, in Summit Coaching, I have at least 2 students every semester who fight me on this. They send me a picture of their Outlook calendar that says, client consultation with Mr. Jones, coffee with John Smith Realtor. Okay, that's great. You want to start with the basics. What are you doing from 10 to 11 in the morning? What are you doing from 2 to 3? It's not coffee with Mr. Jones or taking a loan app with Mrs. Smith. You have to have a basics for how to put those appointments in, okay? This isn't in color, but you're going to color code it and you're going to laminate it. And each of your team members are going to have a laminated copy, and you're going to have it up on your wall or next to your computer. Because if you're anything like me, you're going to be the first person to break your rules. Your team is pretty much going to do what you say. You're the boss. And if you say, please don't schedule me during these hours, this is when I have to do my power hour, they, for the most part, won't. But they need to know when it's okay to schedule client consultations. Okay, so take a look at mine. So I start pretty much from when I wake up. I go to the gym. I have a little personal time. This is changing a little bit because I'm taking my kids to school. And then when I get into the office, I have actually time-blocked periods to check email. Who's checking email all day long? Right? Does anybody, I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, but I have this like anxiety that if an email doesn't get responded to right away, like they know that I've seen it and that I'm not responding to them. Does anybody have that like with texts? Like I feel like I have to respond to texts right away when they come in. And especially because if you read the text, there's no way to flag it and remind yourself. And I have this fear that I'm going to like forget and I'm going to lose out on a lead or, you know, whatever. Yeah, right. So you have to have blocks in your day where you're going to be paying attention to that and nothing else. Or else you're going to be on your email all day long. Todd said it yesterday, right? Email is a huge time suck, right? And a lot of those emails, for those of us that don't have someone that can check our emails, we have to be extra vigilant about staying to the time block. The best scenario is that you have an LP1 who checks your emails and only gives you the ones that you have to deal with. A lot of them can be sent directly to your LP2, right? There's questions, there's doc requests, there's all kinds of stuff that you don't really even have to deal with. How many times do you get an email where you don't need to deal with it? It's something your LP2 can totally handle, and you answer it anyway. Yeah. I did it on Monday, and I knew I was doing it, and I couldn't stop myself. You know? Okay, so then pipeline meeting every day at 8:45. That is the way you have to start your day, or else your team doesn't know what to do. Okay, power hour. Who does a time block power hour every day? Thank you for your honesty. Okay, second question. Assuming that you have a time block power hour every day and, or at least know that you're supposed to, do you know what to do during that power hour? What do we do on Mondays? What do we do on Tuesdays? Wednesdays? Thursdays? Fridays? Thank you. And for those of you who aren't quick enough to write all that down, it's on page 205. Okay? The core has this really cool system that we all get to participate in because we are Summit that is super simple. It's not easy all the time because, again, we have to deal with our emotions, but it is super simple. Call 40 realtors. Call your transactions. Call your pre-approvals. It's not hard. I shouldn't say that. It's actually pretty hard. It's just not complicated. It's just not complicated. Yeah. It's not rocket science. There you go. And what did Todd say yesterday? If you do this stuff, you're going to make a lot of money and help a lot of people. All right, so I have a power hour every day. On Mondays, I actually give myself 2 to 3 hours because I don't know about you, but I cannot call 40 realtors in an hour. I can't even call 40 realtors in 2 hours. I wasn't in the class, and I don't even remember who said it. Maybe it wasn't a class, someone was just telling me yesterday. But I think we are so programmed to call 40 realtors, for me anyway, that I'm just like, I get someone on the line. Okay, see, I gotta go. You know, I have a quick chat. See, I gotta go. What if that realtor wants to like take 10 or 15 minutes to chat about their kid going to college or their dog that's sick or whatever, and you spend 15 minutes on the phone with them, which eats up a good chunk of your power hour, right? But wait a second, you just had like 15 minutes connecting with a realtor, a referral source who wanted to talk to you, right? Let them talk as long as they want, right? So I give myself like 3 hours on Monday to do the Monday calls. And then most days I try and schedule a break bread over lunch. And I do from 2 to 4, I have client consultations. Now, how many times do you have, and this was mentioned a bunch yesterday, you have someone that can't come in during your, during the normal work day, right? You schedule one night a week, right? And here's the thing. If I have my LP1 doing this and they offer them Tuesday or Thursday from 2 to 4, 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock or whatever it is, oh, I can't come in that day. Well, then it's a perfect opportunity to let your LP1 say, you know what? I know you're a really important client of Jane's. Let me talk with Brent and see if he can fit you in somewhere else that's convenient for you and get back to you. So if she can't schedule, if they can't fit in during those hours, then she can't schedule them without talking to me. So then I Wednesday nights is when I stay late. And that gives her an opportunity to call back and say, we know you're a really important client of Jane's. Brent's going to stay late for you so that you can come in, in the evening.
What constitutes late?
Usually for me, it's a 5 o'clock appointment or a 6 o'clock appointment. I very, very rarely am there past 6:30, 7 o'clock. I have 4 children, so some of the things we talked about, life balance, that's a biggie for me. Because I have 4 children, I'm a single dad, so I got to do it all. And I'll tell you something too. This is maybe a little bit of a digression, but I think it's a really good point. So I do have an au pair, which is a nanny that lives with me from another country, and so because I have to have that, or else I can't do what I do. But because I have that help, I use that help, right? So I would have her take the kids to school every morning but one morning. And I would do it on one morning. And I'd get into the office at like 7 o'clock, which is really early. And by 2 or 3, I'm just burnt. I'm just spent. It's been a full day already. But I still have a few more hours to go, and it was painful. But I didn't really know any other way to do it. And sometimes you don't learn these things until they're forced upon you. So anyway, the au pair goes home. The next one is not starting until the end of February. And I'm stressing out because how am I supposed to take my kids to school every day, right? Get into the office at like 8:30, which is, fair and, realistic. But for me, I was like, I got to get in at 7. Anyway, I started doing this. I'd go to the gym, I'd come home, I'd get them ready for school, I'd take them to school, I'd be in the office at 8:30, and all of a sudden, I just felt great. It was 5 o'clock, I had met with all these people, I was energized, something had changed. My passion got relit, and I realized I was so afraid of running out of time and my time management during the day that I was putting things that should be important and making them not important. As soon as I started to put my kids first, take them to school, just that little time in the morning that I had with them energized me for the entire day. So those are good things to think about when you're doing your time block. So let's take a few minutes at your tables and go around the table, long hair first this time, and share 2 things that you do not have in your current schedule that you need to add into your time block.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a million questions too. I hope, yeah. Oh, that was just my notes.
Sounds good. Okay, couple ahas. Who's got an aha? Yeah.
One was just mentioned a great time block for things that are so much mundane, guidelines, for example.
Yeah, I loved that yesterday. 10 minutes.
You mentioned that, first thing in the morning, 15 minutes to review different topics. Do that every single day as opposed to say
Who get, all those emails we get every day about, from Annette about, underwrite it from down under, whatever it is, right? How many people read those? Susan? Wow. So there's 3 people out of the entire room that read those, right? Yesterday I was thinking I should put those in a folder and then in the morning spend 10 minutes and go over them. Because there's really good stuff in there, stuff that you can use, stuff that you can talk about on your Monday calls, right? What else? Another aha. Yeah.
Mine was submitted like tagging things because I thought my schedule looks great, but I don't stick to them. And I think I need to readjust how much time I'm allowing for things because I'll burn 45 minutes because I got it done in 15 minutes, and then I'm just messing around and and then
Yep.
I spend too much time on one block that goes into another, and I think I need to be more aware of when I'm off those blocks and then do that.
Yeah.
You know what? When you do your time block and you laminate it and you put it on your wall or wherever, you can still edit it. Like, you should be redoing this every couple months, maybe even every month. Your life changes, your business changes, things change. It's not something you just do and then it never changes again. But you have to keep it in front of you. It has to be a reminder. It's a good one.
I don't schedule time to even use the restroom. So I'll be like, oh gosh, I have another appointment here. They want us to sit through it. And you eat lunch really fast. I really am struggling with my weight. So for me this year, it's spend a half hour and actually take a minute, and maybe give yourself the schedule to use the restroom, just walk down the hall without always being so tight. Because I feel like we try to get so efficient, or I try to get so efficient, that I'm losing out on my own personal life.
You got to remember to actually schedule time in to go to the bathroom in between appointments.
It sounds silly, but in our office, you have to pass the client. So it
Yes.
feels like I'm
Right.
disrespecting the client
Right.
because I need to use the restroom.
Right.
And you're like, no, you just need to stand up and get to the air.
Yeah. And you know what? I know this sounds silly, but if you have to go to the bathroom, you're not going to be your best in a client appointment. You're going to be distracted. There's something physical, I know. If you are physically uncomfortable, right, you're going to be distracted.
The ROI is happening.
Everybody write down that as things you will do for sure. That should be number 1.
15 minutes a day.
Yeah. One more aha. Yeah.
Alternate midnight. So maybe have a Monday and a Thursday.
That's a great idea. Yeah, switch it up. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Treat your power hour like a client appointment or a realtor appointment. If you had a client appointment at 10 a.m., right? And another client called and said, I'd like to come in at 10 a.m. Would you cancel the first appointment? How much was that power hour worth to you? $600? $800? Right? That should be set in stone. You should, yeah.
Something I recently got from someone else was on the power hour, make it non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And
Non-negotiable.
Someone, a real estate broker, he said, if you're calling me during my prospecting hours, the house is burning down, call the fire department, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
And I started laughing, I was like, whoa, that makes total sense. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
Everything's all right, and you're okay, but
Yeah. You can play games, right? Have envelopes on your door with your team. If they interrupt you, they got to put, $1 in there and it goes to charity or something. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. The other thing I want to mention before I turn it over to Casey is we're talking largely about work stuff. But who schedules a date night with their significant other every week or every other week? One person, 2, 3? Okay, there's a few of you. That's great. That's super important. We get caught up. We have kids. We get busy. That should be a part of maybe not your time block, but it's a part of your life, and you should schedule it, and you should have that in the books because you know what? If you don't, it won't happen.
schedule time every day to get it on that.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, I'm just doing them as.
Right. And then you got to schedule, well, I do this during my power hour, but schedule the time to then follow up on them. Right? Yeah, because it takes a little bit of time. Some of us do mortgage coach spreadsheets, and clients love them, but it does take us a little bit of time to prepare them and get them out and record it and all that sort of thing. So they're awesome, but it's something else you got to time block.
I'm just looking at all these things here require prep to execute. Like doing my power hour requires someone going through, putting together my phone burner, making sure ready. Someone has to have my 2 updates on my. So making sure that all this can happen so I can smoothly go into this one, straight to this one.
Yeah.
So when does all that prep stuff happen? Making sure I'm booking in prep meetings to go over redoing the calendar or to go over, what changes we need to make on the thing.
So there's I have a time block in there on. So every other Thursday I have core coaching, and so the opposite Thursday I have an hour to do my homework. You got to have that in there. Yeah, and there one of you asked about, well, how do you do all this if you don't have a team, right? You have to adhere to the time block even more because you don't have other people helping you do this stuff. And the truth is, you may have to work a little bit more to get prepared for this. But once you get in the groove, you just adhere to it and it'll run. Love the grind. That was the theme yesterday, right? All right, Casey, what are we talking about next?
The grind, huh? Gotta love it. So I mentioned that I'm not very good at time management, right? Or I have challenges. And where my challenge is I get so caught up in the moment that I don't think what's coming next. And so how I solved it? I assigned it to my LP1. So her job is to keep me on my calendar. And a good day is when I miss nothing. But I would get to where she put somebody on my calendar to call at 2, and I'm in the middle of something else. Maybe I'm calling somebody else. I'm not always looking at my calendar, even though she prints it out and sets it on my desk every morning. I'm just not constantly. But now she comes and she knocks and she says, it's almost 2, jump on the call, or she'll transfer them in. If I'm meeting with a client, she knows I want 45 minutes with a client because I can talk until an hour and 15, but 45 minutes is my goal, right? We block an hour. So she comes 10 minutes before, knocks on the door, and actually says 10 more minutes so the client can hear it. And then they always go, oh, okay. And then it's like kind of gives us 10 minutes to wrap up. We have a parking area, so a lot of people park in the meter, so that kind of buys us because usually they put an hour in, but it doesn't always work. But it's great when they do. So that's my big one. And if you don't have an LP1, maybe find an accountability partner in your office that can kind of help you be accountable, maybe at least to your time block. Like, did you do it? I used to have it on my door, and it would say, like, did I do my power hour for the day? So I felt like that was, like, publicly telling everybody that walked by my office, like, if I had done my job. Now I actually do it in our daily team meeting, and we'd start at 9:10. We start with the most important thing, which is, did I do my prospecting? And so there is a tracker that says, did I go on my broker tour, and did I do my calls yesterday? And I have to put down how many hours I did of each. And my team gets to look at me and go, oh, you did your work, or no, you didn't. And then it's very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. And then I'm like, oh, yesterday, shoot, right? Like, I can't make excuses. Because then we quickly go on to how are our leads doing, and how did we convert, and then how are our pre-approvals doing, and how's the pipeline doing? And I hold them super accountable, right? I mean, if they're 1 day late, if they're 4 hours late, I'm like, what's going on? And, so I have to also do the work. So that's how I operate, is accountability in that area. So choose one of those. Try to find a way to have somebody keep you accountable. When I think about time management, I get caught up in lists of things I need to do. Like, I have lists. I have lists on paper. I really don't. I used to. Lists on paper, lists on my computer under Outlook tasks. I have something called Remember the Milk on my phone, which is a to-do list. And I'm all over the place, and I don't know what's most important. So a few years ago, I heard a story about Charles Schwab. I don't think it's the one that's the financial planner. It's his dad or something, that had hired some productivity consultant to help them out. And the strategy was, at the end of every day, give yourself 15 minutes before you go home and plan your next day. But what you're planning is only the top 6 things you're going to do the next day to move the needle in your business. So you can imagine most of it will be prospecting, or maybe calling back that one realtor you met because you really want to get a lunch appointment. So the top 6 things. And then you look at those top 6 things and you prioritize them 1 through 6. And when you come in the next morning, that is your to-do list. If you have more than 6 things, the consultant said, you're crazy, right? Like you can only do so much in a day. But some of us may have more than 6 things to do. So then the trick is you just have to create a way to make sure you're doing the 6 things first and leave the others, right? So like on my to-do, this is my daily to-do that I fill out every night. It has a red line, and that's at the 6. So if it goes above the red line, that's the top 6. If it's below the red line, those are things that I have to do, want to do, maybe will do, but they're not the 6. And some days I don't finish the 6, so at the end of the day, they roll to the next day, right? And the trick is just to be focused on that. Because when I come in the morning, there's all sort of things happening. And I start doing that thing, which was not one of my 6. And then I end the day and I haven't done the most important thing. So I think somebody mentioned as a question was urgency versus importance. So you're putting down what's important to you, not what's urgent to a realtor, whoever said that, right? So you can get calls and emails from people that is really important to them, really urgent to them. But is it important to you? So really try to end your day in a way that you're actually picking something up. Could anybody get value from that, where you actually do that? Some people do the top 3. I don't know. I felt like 6 was right. And again, I did create my own form because I'm that type of person, and it has all my little notes on it, you know, all my goals, how many leads I need a day, and it's just my little tracker outside of my greatness tracker. Email. Brent, do you do your email?
Sorry. I do my email now, but there was a good year that I did not do my email, and it was great. But that person
Gives
who
you a change. Okay.
Yeah.
So delegating email. I was at a course summit maybe 4 years ago, and that's what I heard. I'm sure I heard it many, many times before that, but that's what I heard at that meeting, and I let go of it. And it was the scariest thing, yet the most rewarding at the end. And I thought I was the best at email. I can answer the best questions. I know all the answers. And it's probably true, but so other people can do it too. And so when I delegated to my LP1, it was a process. I always was afraid I would miss something that she thought wasn't important, but I thought was. So we created a system. If you don't have a system like the one I like, I've heard a lot of people talking about printing out emails. I think Susan and Todd says you do this, and bringing it in. I don't do that one. I'm thinking about that one. But when I'm out in the field selling, like that doesn't necessarily work for me. But what we did is I asked her to have a 0 inbox. So the inbox has to be 0, has to be empty. If I pop into my email on my phone, it defaults to the initial inbox. If there's email in there, I know she's not doing her job because it has to go out. Most of the emails we have just one folder called archive. Most of it just goes in there. Or delete, and we don't look at them, right? But the rest go into Casey to do, or what's it called? FYI, I call it, I don't know, for your information. And so those are things that I have to do, like some specific question. If I have a student ask me a specific question, it goes into their Casey to do. And the other one is just things I should know. Meaning I don't have to do anything with them, but when I have time, I should read through them. And it's been amazing. I mean, it has rocked my world. I've also heard a lot of people don't have teams. And so what you do with that is you try to have Outlook be your friend, and it's called creating rules, right? So if you have rules, I mean, I have so many rules even though I have an LP1, but just to make her life easier. I don't know if you're like me, but when an appraisal gets ordered and then it gets scheduled and then it gets inspected, and it's just constant emails. Like I can't tell you how many emails you get between when you order an appraisal to when it is completed, and I'm on the team email, so it comes to me. Or when a file gets cleared to close, I think we get like 8 emails. Yeah. Right, and if you're like prospecting and that pops up, and you're like, oh my gosh. So we have rules for all those things, and like all the emails from Encompass and Appraisal all go into a separate folder. And if I need to look them up and see was the loan approved, what's going on, it's just there, but it never makes it into any of our view. So I get this email. Do you guys get it? Good morning? I don't see it. Right? Or
How do you know it's a good morning then?
I do not look at it.
You don't look at your turn times, you don't look at birthdays.
No, I don't. Yeah. And something else like on Friday, I was looking through my rules before I came, something about like a HR phone list or something every Friday comes out.
We turn it once in a while.
Do you sign your own disclosures, or does the team member?
I don't. I'm recorded.
I really like that whole thing.
Yeah.
I hate my email. You just get hit all day long with stuff that
Mhm.
doesn't even matter at the moment.
But then you know where to go find it.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm. I think we get a daily rate sheet too, which goes into a bucket called rates.
Hey, Casey.
Oh, we don't get that anymore? Okay.
How often does she check the email? What's your system?
She is just in it all the time.
So what
She-
about
she
her time
manages.
management then? So you guys know that not only are you doing your own time management, you have to work with your team on their time management too, because everybody struggles with it, and they should be time blocking as well.
That's a hard
They
one.
get
I think
distracted.
That was the question that came up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question I should ask her, but I would imagine she just has one of her screens up.
So
With my email.
When I did it, and I can send this to anybody who wants it. I have an outline for exactly how it's supposed to work, how often she was supposed to check it, and what she was supposed to do. Because if they're in your email all the time, how are they planning your lunch and learns? How is she working on leads? How is he, working on this flyer? Right? They're getting distracted too, and you're not getting the most out of your team. Right.
So when were they? When was she? You remember?
I
Every
used
2
to ask-
hours. Once every 2 hours.
Mine was every 30 minutes is what I asked her to look in there and see if there was anything. And I should ask her what she does now. But I know that she makes less than $636 an hour, so I'm okay if she's a little off focus on it. But
Right.
but a lot of times she's just forwarding it as well off to an LP2 to get the answer, or archiving most of it. There's so much junk we get in. So try rules. It's really cool. It really sets it up. And anything that comes in, you can create a rule. But she knows that if it's something from, the core, like she knows what that means, right? So you start to train her to know what BNI means. And, at first she had no clue what all this stuff was. And now she's also becoming a little rule. She knows where to put things too that come in that don't have a rule, right? Another one is I'm big into automation. So like this Flowify thing, I love it. I mean, I love it. But the two that I've done that really have helped with time management, one is something called Calendarly, I think is how you say it. And we have Melissa, my LP1, she spends a lot of time where the client wants to meet with me, either phone, in person, and they go back and forth. Oh, well, we could do Tuesday at 4 or Wednesday at 3. And then the client takes like a day to call her back or email her back, and now those times are not available anymore. So now they start the cycle over again. So she sends out this link, and it gives them options, if they want a 15-minute phone call, a 30-minute phone call, a face-to-face, or she can, specifically just only give them the face-to-face option. And they click on it, and it hits my Outlook calendar with some rules, and they pick the time they want.
This is for clients?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Clients, students, if you're a student, you've got, so when I do my 6-month calls, they pick the time on my calendar.
What is that called?
Is that through Outlook?
Calendly. Yeah.
But it's through Outlook?
You log into your Summit Outlook through it. So then it hits your Outlook. Then you set rules. So I say, I'm available from 9 to 5. And if it's like if it's a 15-minute phone call, I know it's never 15 minutes. So it can set a rule that says, don't let another one occur until like 15 minutes after the 15 minutes. So it buffers it by 15 minutes. It's like $10 a month.
How do the clients like it?
I get good feedback on it.
Yeah.
Because they can do it at night. If I get a lead, during the day, and Melissa can email and say, hey, there's 2 ways we can get started. We can start with a quick phone call, or you can come in. And she sends it, and they get to choose which one they want.
Very cool.
Calendly. sure there's a way to say it. I just know I signed up for it. So we've been using it for maybe 10 months, almost a year. And Melissa loves it. And it sends you an email if you want. It sends them a reminder 24 hours in advance too, that their appointment is coming up. Or you can, instead of it sending an email, it can send an Outlook invite. So you get to choose. Does it send an email confirmation or actually an Outlook calendar item that then hits right onto your calendar? And it's just right there. It's amazing.
When the client selects the time, does it populate your Outlook?
Oh yeah, populates my Outlook count. Oh yeah, it's amazing. Yes.
You did make my life
Uh-huh.
a lot easier.
And you can ask
Wow.
questions, like, so you can put custom questions when they're filling it out. So I say, what's the best number for me to call you on? Because I don't want to have to look inside of Outlook or inside of my CRM to figure out what their phone number was, or are they at work on their cell phone? So they just type it in, and then on my calendar I can pop it up. It's phone number. I'm ready to go. There you go. There's your nugget for today. The other one comes around calling. I'm horrible at like sticking onto the calls for 40 calls a day on a Monday, so I use Phone Burner. I know we've been talking about Phone Burner a lot. If you have not considered using it, I love it. To me, I love it because it gets me into a cycle of calling. So I pick, 20 people I'm going to call. I hit start the call, and then I'm stuck. Because in the past, I'd call, and then there's an email. Or I would, talk to them, and they talk about their daughters getting married. And I go, I'll go in there and I'll update the system with that little comment. No. I just take a note on a piece of paper, and I just keep the calls going. So consider that if you at all have a hard time making your calls. We also love it for our events. So Melissa sometimes will end up calling instead of me to remind people or to try to get people to come to a lunch and learn or a happy hour. But it's not all that great when my LP1 leaves them a voicemail. But when I leave them a voicemail, it's a little different. So she's calling and she's getting, 60% voicemail. And all the voicemails that get dropped in there are me talking. So she goes, hey, Casey, I'm making happy hour calls tomorrow. Would you record me a message? So I record it, and it's in from me. It's our caller ID. We had her calling where it was my cell phone, but everybody would answer and say, hey, Casey. So now we do our team line as our caller ID, and they know that's kind of the office calling. So that's another one. And the last one that I have been working on a lot is around setting expectations. So to me, in time management, it's a lot about setting expectations of ourselves, but of others. And so if you're telling somebody that our underwriting turn time is a day, a realtor, for example, who's really cautious, really concerned about a loan or a borrower, they're going to then call you or email you or bug you or interrupt you when really you're making your calls. And so double it. So our underwriting takes 3 days. And then I get to get it in a day, maybe not have time to look at it with my team, and then on the day after that, we can call and say, congratulations, you're approved, and we're 1 day early. So really think about setting that expectations around appraisals and underwriting and docs. If you have a jumbo loan, you make it even longer, right? And so I have found that really helps our team and myself not get sidetracked with all the questions. And it kind of comes back down to, we all have once in a while a loan that gets off track. And so that to me is my ICU loan. It's just intensive care, right? And we just set a time, hey, a realtor will call you every day at 4 o'clock until this loan gets back on track. Even if we're not in control of it, we're still going to tell you what we've done. So setting those sort of expectations really keep that inbound craziness from coming into you. Because when they call you, they're anxious, which means the call is 5 times longer. Whereas if you call them before they're even anxious, you just kind of whiz through it. So those were my 4 or 5 main takeaways that I've been working on this year that have really helped me. I think the calendar thing was pretty cool. That one I liked, and my to-do list. It's always a challenge, right? Because 6 things is not a lot, and do I get through all 6? But it sure keeps me focused on what's most important. And as loan officers, we get pulled in so many different ways, including sitting here today, that we always have to kind of keep that top of mind. So those are my tactics. How are we doing on time?
Cool. We got a few more. We'll take some questions. I have a question. Hey, Mary, what's your most favorite thing you like to do during the day?
I actually really like to meet with clients and look them in the eye and say, we're going to get you a home.
Okay. That's not weird at all. Bridget?
I would say
Yeah.
or making the time, letting them know if they're approved.
Okay. Anybody else? Something, their favorite thing to do during the day? Meeting with agents? Okay. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah? Okay.
I like lunch.
Right. So I'm kind of an introvert. Like I said, I like putting together files and hanging out in the office. But I've recently learned I also like to eat. And so if I could, have breakfast with someone and lunch with someone and maybe a coffee with someone, that's a pretty cool day. And so if I could just do that every day, I'd be a pretty happy guy. So if I can just stick to a time block where I can do the things that I like to do, I am a happier person. How many people have teams? Okay, so like half the room. So what if you could make it so that your teams were doing 80% of the things you don't like to do, because there are some things that you don't like to do that you got to do anyway. And then most of your time is spent just doing the things you like to do. Meeting borrowers, meeting realtors, having lunch, having breakfast. Like, I really like doing breakfast. That's fun. And it's a little less threatening because it's a good way to start your day, taking people to breakfast. So I don't drink. So the happy hour thing for a long time was not my thing. So I did breakfast with Brent. The third Thursday of every month, I set up shop in this really kind of cool cafe, and that's where I did my happy hour. So that was the issue, and that's why I stopped doing it, because the truth is most realtors aren't up and active that early, but I got the same realtors every time. So even if I had the same 3 people every month, I had 3 awesome connections, with them every month. But yeah, so it's not like a happy hour where you're going to get 15 people and stuff like that. But sometimes those, meetings with 3 people is actually a lot better. So think about the things that you really like to do and then time block around it. Like, make those a priority. All right. We got a few more minutes.
Let's check the board, make sure we got
Yeah,
this
let's
covered.
check the board. So create an effective habit. I mean, what's the Stephen Covey thing? You have to do it like for a certain amount of weeks in a row. You got to put it on paper and then just do it. That's how you do a habit. Going to the gym. You just got to get up and go to the gym. That's how you create a habit. I don't think there's any secret.
I think it's just all the little tactics that we've all heard, which is, if you're going to the gym, you set out at least what I do is I set out my shoes and my running shorts, the night before. So it's really easy. I just wake up and put the clothes on. If I have to go look for them in the closet, like it's that barrier. I don't know. I think that's the best you can do. I think a lot of it's just doing it and having the motivation, like why you want to do it. I know I've been working a lot on that, like what gets me to make the calls. It's not the fact that it's on my calendar. That doesn't make me do it. It has to be something deeper. And to me, I have a 16-year-old who's talking about these really expensive private schools for college. And
in-state only. Didn't you hear Rick
yeah,
yesterday?
I did hear that. Yeah, it's a little too late. We've already been checking out the out-of-state. So so that's my motivator. So that makes me say, oh my gosh, I don't want to be the one to say, oh, that's just too expensive, or take out a student loan or anything. So I want to be able to do that if that's where we end up. Yeah. So I need to have a motivator that's emotional, that I connect with. Not around, I want more money. Like, that doesn't get me to go do what I have to do.
Getting it all done. So who thinks if they had a time block and they stuck to their time block, they could get most of it done most of the time? Anybody else a perfectionist? Yeah, I'm a perfectionist, and so I do want to get all of it done all of the time. The truth is, we're human, and it's not gonna be perfect. But if you have a system and a plan, most of the time it's gonna work out. Prioritization, big rocks. Stick to the big rocks. Team meeting. Prioritize what's most important. Team.
What goes around team and how they manage their time?
I would say have them do a time block. Does everybody have their team's top 3 jobs? Your LP1, their top 3 jobs. LP2, right? Time block around those things.
So you go over, I'm assuming you go through your team, here's what my calendar looks like, or the LP1 is telling everyone. So assuming your LP2 knows kind of how your day goes.
Absolutely. She has the laminated time block in her office.
Making sure you're explaining that to them.
Yeah. You got to get their buy-in too. So let them do their time block and share it with you, and you can offer little tips and stuff. Right?
This is something I struggle I told myself I was leaving the office at 5:30, and then I get a list of callbacks of 5 people because she said she'll call you before she goes home. She's
Right.
back appointments. And next thing you know, I'm staring at my computer. I'm like, either I'm not going to make my commitment to Tiffany, or I'm making my callbacks which pay me money, and now I'm in this mode.
So maybe change the way that she talked, to the way the under promise, over deliver. Is it okay if Mary calls you back in the next 24 hours, or is this urgent? Does it need a call back today?
That's pretty basic,
Right?
That I don't do. Yeah, she always says she'll call you before she goes home.
Right.
And then I'm like,
Under promise, over deliver, and then maybe stop your client consultations at 4:30, so you have a half an hour time block to call them all back. So they think they're getting a call back tomorrow. You call them back early. You're over delivering.
I think that's my suggestion, change your appointment time to give you a little extra time at the end of the day. And you also talked about bathroom, I have great, because that's the issue with Todd. I mean, you have to eat, what the heck?
Right.
We don't have time for that. So, like, allow, like, when you're talking with somebody, you get on the phone, if you let them know the expectation is, I have 15 minutes. But you have 30 blocked out for us at a 15-minute conversation, then you have time at the end of that to get off at 15 minutes because you set the expectation at the beginning of the call. And then you have time to eat.
Right.
Great suggestion. Yeah.
I also struggle with that. I'll call you by the end of the day, and then all these things happen, and then you gotta go. You have to whatever it is. And one thing that I heard yesterday from Tom was, worst case, send a text. This is really, really urgent. I call you back tomorrow. Sorry, got backed up.
I like your sudden expectations.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we all struggle. Salespeople are we are people pleasers. We want to give everything to everybody all the time, and the truth is you can't, because something's going to suffer. Whether it's your kids, your significant other, another client. So you have to set the right expectations, and it's hard to do.
Remember triage.
Yes.
Like the most important people you're calling back are new leads. Maybe a listing agent's calling you to check on a borrower to see if they should accept the offer. Like those are things you just do. Like you don't go home and not make them, right? But sometimes we triage. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had a difficult loan. You have 5 loans that you need to pre-approve today, and there's like that messy one that came in first. Man, you know where it goes, right? Yeah. Move it to the bottom, pull the easy one on top so they can get in contract. So do a little bit of triage with it, and then set expectations further out. Because the person that might be wanting you to call them and says, I'm thinking about buying a house in a year, I've got some credit issues.
So, because I saw you send out those edge presentations. How do you both call back, like follow up on those? Do you schedule an appointment for, hey, I'm going to send an edge presentation, we're going to schedule a, like lead comes in,
Yeah.
then you have a point where you kind of go through the.
So I do it on Wednesdays during my pre-app calls, because I was setting a reminder for each one, and I would have so much on the pop-up in my CRM that it would just get overwhelming, and I couldn't do it. So I do it on Wednesday. If it needs to be done, sooner, I usually wait 2 days. And also, if you're using Mortgage Coach, you get a notification when they look at it. So I know I can say, hey, what'd you think? Or I can say, hey, did you get the spreadsheet that I sent?
Okay, so you're sending it out, you're not necessarily following up every time on it. Exactly.
I follow up within 2 days. Yeah. And you can go into Edge and look at all the ones you've done and just go down that list.
Yeah, I'll ask you about that.
Okay, cool. Life balance. Does anybody have any questions about life balance? I think you just gotta, leave on time and schedule it. I mean,
how do you get spouse significant other to understand and buy into what life looks like?
Have them do your time block with you. Show them your time block. Yeah, go through it all. I know my wife was quite unhappy because my time when I would come home varied, and she wanted more of a set time to expect me. And so this was a few years ago. I was not very consistent at the end of the day, and my coach, Lisa Wells, says, Casey, set an end time. So on my calendar it says end time, something, I forget what it used to say. Now it's a habit, and it was always leave at a certain time. Then I shared it with my wife. I said, these 4 days I'm going to come home at this day it's going to be a little later. and that was amazing.
Here's the truth, in my opinion. If you are home and present with your family, when you're home and present with your family, your spouse is probably going to be okay with one night a week designated to a late night. But on the other 4 nights, is your iPhone in a drawer? Are you TV off, or whatever it is that you do, right? Focused on your family. Because I think, it's not the one night a week that you're not working. It's all the other nights where you say you're going to be home at 5:30 and you're not home until 7, or you're home at 5:30 and you're answering emails and taking calls all night. So usually, someone, I think it was on the main stage yesterday, they were talking about the objection or the thing that people say they have issues with, 90% of the time is not the real issue. There's other stuff they have problems with.
The issue I get is I create an expectation of, well, it's being super responsive, and then I want to get out of that. I'm like, yeah, I was really responsive at the beginning, now I want to spread it out.
Right.
Because it's not sustainable to keep that up. But weaning people off that, they're like, yeah, let's hold it right back here. And I'm like, you just can't.
But how many of the people really call you, at 8 o'clock at night? It doesn't, right. So anyway, we have to wrap it up. Sir, do you know what page the survey's on?
I think it's the second to last page.
Yep. So fill out the survey, be kind.
So I think there's only one number on
We
our
know who
survey.
you
It's
are.
5, I think, is the only number on there anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming.
So the next thing is lunch. So run on downstairs at the lunch before general session again.